then you know you've activated something in your life that can never ever be turned out. A bit like turning on a massive torch that no one can ever put that light out. That's why I've made this video. Hi guys, we're gonna have a slightly different type of video today, okay? I was doing a bit of work at home and I got an email from somebody, and when I read that email literally hit me like a lightning bolt. It was like an email like I've never received before. Not because it had anything bad in it had really good things in it, but it had so much truth in it that I literally stopped everything I was doing, went upstairs, ironed this shirt, and said to myself, I'm gonna come out and read this email out in a video. Because I believe so strongly that this email will resonate with so many people, because this email had stuff in it that just, honestly, just really hit me, and I felt, wow, like, it just brought back so many memories, okay? So I already feel like I'm getting emotional just talking about it. So we're just gonna skip the usual formalities. I'm just gonna read you this email straight away, okay? I received this email from somebody who I'm gonna call Anna, okay? She'd recently joined our membership program, but then she just emailed me to thank me, but more specifically to tell me why she is going on this journey towards financial independence. And it's just so many things in this. And I really hope these will resonate with you as well. Okay, so I'm going to just dive in and read it. So bear with me, by the way, it's a slightly long email, but you'll see why in a minute. Hi Ken, I came across you through your great YouTube channel. I've been looking for a trustworthy source of financial education for some time, but struggled as a lot of the information is very dispersed and does not tend to be UK specific. Then she talks about our program. FJAs to me appear to be a place where I could not only reliably and continuously develop my financial education and skills, but also feel a part of a community and keep that long-term motivation going, because the journey can be lonely. And before that, I'd felt a bit overwhelmed, not knowing what information to trust and how to even begin. Now, let's get into this bit now. Underlying this are my personal circumstances. Now, listen to this. As with everyone on such a journey, I'm an immigrant to the UK, but have managed to get a decently paid job after years in university, which allows me to help people on a daily basis, okay? Which I greatly value, she says. But in this job, although I love my field of practice, there is no flexibility, no control of my own hours, okay? And not even the possibility of working part-time to pursue other development roles. Now listen to this. This is the bit. When I heard this, she says, I feel like a modern day slave, okay? And this has led to less work enjoyment. I'd love to know, actually, by the way, as you're listening to this, how this resonates with you. And the important realization for me was that I've actually walked straight into this job from university and handed my wrists to be shackled, blinded by the perception around our work spheres that this is a great job, and by the pressure from seniors that I should continue on the hamster wheel. But really what I'm doing is handing myself deeper and deeper into this until I am chained to a job with inflexible terms that don't work for me, and where my quality of life is lost for a sum of money that is nowhere near the fraction of its value. This no longer works for me, and I need more flexibility, as I recently got married and I've got a husband, you know, blah, blah, blah. She goes on and she says that to be denied by her employers really hit home, okay? And then this carries on and she says, this is something that really blew my mind, right? She says, the work environment is quite toxic. Now she's talking about her job, and many of you will relate to this. I'd love to know actually how many of you relate to a toxic work environment. Something I'm going to talk about, by the way, in this video, about my journey and how toxic the work environment in certain places have been, right? She says the work environment is quite toxic with no prospect of improvement in the next few years. And it's essentially like being in an abusive relationship, but you are unable to leave because you are financially dependent on the other party. Wow. Then she finishes by saying, I love working, but I do not want to do it at the detriment of my health and my relationships. And I don't believe I should sacrifice one for the other. Get this, and this is the bit that gets even more exciting. And so with that thought, I set out to regain my freedom, to eventually plan a transition to a job that I love, that happens not by chance, but by design. Okay? And from there, I understood that I do not have the fundamental financial education and skills that underlie this process. And that is what I'm learning now, and I'm hopefully will be learning from FJA and the community and so on. Then she carries on. Then she carries on and says, these are skills that are not taught at school and not by my parents, as wonderful as they were. I want to change this, okay, so that I can lead a more fulfilled life, build better life with my husband and our kids in the future. Finally, I just want to say a big thank you for creating this incredible resource. You and your family are inspirational, and being able to relate to your beginnings and seeing how you have achieved success in your life fills us with much needed hope on this journey, right? I read that and honestly, that just blew my mind, right? Because that email touched on so many things. So I'm just going to talk about a few of them. And this is more of a conversation because I really want you, as you're listening to this, to also think about how what I've just read to you and what I'm saying is potentially happening in your life now, or maybe in times not too far away. So I'm going to give you some real examples of, some of the points she's made here from my own journey, my own career. And kind of when you think about this journey of financial independence, and I talk about it, and it sounds really cool, sounds really interesting. The thing about this journey is that for this to become real in your life, for it to become the thing that you're a big part of what you're optimizing your life for, you have to actually see this as a super purposeful journey. And the only way you start to see it as a real purposeful journey is when you start to reflect upon the points of no return in your life, okay? Which this person who wrote me this email, Anna, has carefully told me and outlined to me the challenges she's facing right now. So let's talk about work as an example, okay? I remember years ago, I used to work for a particular employer. On the outside, life looked really rosy. That work paid me, fairly decent wages and so on. But then it was such a toxic environment. And I've never forgotten, when I think about my points of no return in my life, one point of no return, and by the way, what I mean by the point of no return is an event that happened in your life. When you think about it, it just brings back so much emotion and so much drive to push you to make things happen in your life. And here's one for me. One time, I used to have this boss who flew in from America specifically to come and have a meeting with me. Yeah, this person sat me down in a meeting room and we were talking. And then this is what she said to me. I essentially control your life in this company. I have your life essentially in my hands. And you would do as I tell you. Otherwise, you'd have to start to consider what your options are in this particular company. Okay? What she was essentially saying to me was that if I did not take instruction by the word and do exactly what she was saying, I will essentially be without a job. Okay? And I remember being in that room and just, as I'm looking at you now, just staring. And my mind, I was saying to myself, take pictures of this moment, because one day I'm going to reflect back on this moment and I'll reflect back on it from a much better place. Yeah. And I know many of you watching this will no doubt have had very difficult situations in your job or in your career where you are feeling like you don't have a way out. I had times when I would disappear off and go to the toilet, close the door, and literally start to say a prayer. In jobs where you just think to yourself, wow, supposedly these are fantastic jobs, but then you get in there and you're having a nightmare of a time. I look back on that now and I think to myself, wow, the only reason I'm able to talk about this positively today is because I had always been building a backup plan, a game plan, a way out of that current pathway that I had, a way out of that need to live on that hamster wheel, to take the rubbish from the people who supposedly call themselves our bosses, but who are terrible leaders and who essentially make life miserable for many other people in their workplaces. Are you in that place right now in your life where you are perhaps on a hamster wheel, where you are perhaps working for a boss who is making your life absolute hell and you feel like you don't have a way out? If you're in that place right now, then I really, really urge you to, like this person who wrote me this email, like Anna, to begin to ask yourself, how do I make this journey of financial independence real in my life? How do I make it real? How do I make it something whereby I will start to create a game plan for myself to start to dig my way out of my current circumstance and head onwards to a place of freedom? I'm going to give you another example. Now, this one relates much further back to the times when I moved to the UK. Okay, when I think about my point of no return events, the things that just bring me to so much emotion when I think about them, this is one of them. Okay, and here it is. And this is that when we moved to the UK, we did not have the papers, the documents that were completely in order, which meant that we had so many restrictions and could not do as many things as ordinary people might have been able to do. Okay? So we had challenges around being able to claim for stuff, being able to work, being able to do schooling, being able to just go to a job center and do what ordinary people can do. All right? When I think about that, and I remember those moments, and I remember to myself those letters we would get through the door, and some of you watching this can probably relate to this. Those letters that come in saying, we are threatening to deport you to your country. We are threatening to get you out. We're going to send enforcement officers on this day to come and operate you and your family and take you away to a country where you had literally been trying to escape from because there were so many challenges and difficulties that you were looking for a better life somewhere else. When I think of that moment, and I read this email that this woman sent to me, it just brought back so many memories that I completely understand the journey that she's on right now, which is that for her, she's really considering that point of no return and asking herself, how can I take the leap? Most of us don't get to ask that question. This is why I'm making this video. We stay in the current position we're in. We desire something else. We desire a different life outcome, but we do not feel uncomfortable enough in the place we're in that we don't then take the steps to move out of the current circumstances that we find ourselves in. Are you currently in that place in your life right now where you perhaps find yourself in this hamster wheel every single week? You potentially hate your job. You possibly love working, but you just hate the current circumstance that you're in. Are you that person? Are you working for a boss who's making your life hell? Are you facing immigration challenges? Are you facing this life of living paycheck to paycheck potentially? Yeah? Are you facing absolutely no hope for the future because you feel that perhaps you're getting too old and time, every single day that passes, time feels like it's running out? Okay? If you're one of those people, what is the game plan that you have? Because if you don't have a game plan, then this message I'm putting out today is a call to action, which is that you should start today to make this idea of financial independence real in your life. The only way you make it real is by doing things that are different to what you have always done. What you need to do is to begin to think about your life from a place of design. Okay? So I'm going to offer just a few tips here to kind of get you started practically on that journey today, if you're not already doing it. Okay, and here are the few things I'm going to offer. The first is to sit down, grab yourself a notepad and a pen. Okay, I always find that you connect a lot more with your thoughts when you can write them down and see them in ink on paper. Okay, and here's what I want you to really ponder on and write about. Okay, first thing you need to do is, what does my ideal life look like? If you could draw it on a sheet of paper, what does that ideal life look like? What are you doing in that ideal life? Where are you in that ideal life? What type of work are you doing in that ideal life? How much money are you making in that ideal life? Who are you with in that ideal life? What does your lifestyle look like in that ideal life? What does it look like? If you could paint a picture on a plain sheet of paper, what would that ideal life look like to you? Map it out. Sit down for 30 minutes, for 45 minutes, and just answer that question. Because the minute you start to think like that about your ideal life, you know, of course, that that ideal life has a lot to do with money. The next question then becomes, why is financial independence important to you? Why do you need to get to a place where you have regained a sufficient level of power and control back into your life such that you can go ahead and do what you want in your life? Why does that matter to you specifically? Not everybody else who are potentially watching this video, not even me, Ken. Why does it matter to you? Why does it matter to you specifically? What would it do for your life? How would it change your current situation and get you closer to that ideal life that you had painted in that first question? Spend some time and write down your answer to that question, and then ponder upon it, visualize it. Start to picture what it looks like, almost as though it were real, like you could feel it, like this plant in this room. Imagine if it was real. Imagine if you could wake up one day and have the optionality to get up and do what you want, to dictate what happens between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. in the evening. Imagine if that were possible. What would that life look like? Okay? I'm in that place today where we're able to say that. We're able to say that we can dictate what we do with our time. And I hope that by telling you my story through various videos on this channel, that you can see that this is a possibility for you. But it begins by first asking yourself those hard questions and making this stuff as tangible as possible. Okay? After you've answered this second question, the next question then is how do I create a plan for my financial independence? Okay? A big part of that plan is asking yourself, where am I today? Where am I financially today? And where am I trying to get to financially? Okay? Then the game plan then becomes, how do I plug the gap between where I am today financially and where I'm trying to get to? Okay? This is where you then start to come up with strategies, approaches, hacks, bits that will take you, that will make that journey accelerated. Things that you need to do to speed up that journey to that freedom that you desire. Okay? So, without going into too much detail, a big part of accelerating that journey inevitably will be that you will have to do unusual things. Beyond just saving money and optimizing your lifestyle, for example, you will need to do some radical things around making more money and exposing yourself to different environments such that you accelerate that journey towards your personal financial independence. Okay, so I hope those points are good enough for you to leave with something today on the back of listening to this letter that I read out, but with something that gives you enough to think about, not just to think, but enough to sit down, write down, and map out. Okay? And when you get to that next place where you start to ask yourself, how do I accelerate my journey to financial independence? Then you know you've activated something in your life that can never ever be turned out. A bit like turning on a massive torch that no one can ever put that light out. That's why I've made this video, because I want to sow that seed in your mind that this is something that has the power to change not just your life now and in the very near future, but the life of those around you, the families you have, your siblings, potentially your parents, and without a doubt, your children, if you have any today or plan to have any in the near future. This journey to financial independence is one that I don't just talk about because it's something that's fun and buzzy to talk about. This stuff has the power to change your life and the life of the communities around you as well. Okay, so I hope that's been useful today. If you find yourself at a place where you've sat down and mapped out those key areas I talked about earlier, and you are finding that you then need some help to take things to the next level in terms of accelerating your journey to financial independence, then please feel free to check out our program that we launched recently at Financial Joy Academy, which I'll put a link to below and above. I've spent some time really going into the detail on this video because I want you to understand, as far as I'm concerned, my life is now dedicated towards helping the people I mentioned on this video. You know, the immigrant feeling like they're feeling undeserved and they're really behind everybody else. The man or the woman who's working that job that they hate and they're struggling to get out of. The person living paycheck to paycheck who just feels like that they don't have a game plan for getting out of that complete cycle that they live through every month and working towards a dream life sometime in the future. You know, the single parent who's struggling and feeling tired all the time because they're constantly working and just don't feel like they have any hope in seeing a change in their future. All these people, the families who are struggling every single month, every single week and day, trying to find a way to change their lives financially. Those people are the people that I'm committing my life and my wife Mary, rolling our sleeves up and getting into the trenches to help out on this journey towards financial independence. But you should only do this or get involved or even partake in anything I'm suggesting to you if you see this as a purposeful vehicle for getting your life to that place of true freedom. Okay? I hope you've enjoyed this video today. It's been unusual in many ways, but either way, I hope you take something away today enough to make you ponder about what that different life could look like specifically for you. If there are things that you felt resonated with you specifically on this particular video, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know, are you that person, one of those people I mentioned, going through these various challenges, feeling like you are hopeless potentially, and that this life in the future, you just don't feel excited about what life in the future holds for you financially? Let me know in the comments. I'd be more than happy to get chatting with you and help you take the next few steps and many steps of action that will get you to that place of financial independence. Guys, if you're new to this channel, please make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button as well as the notifications bell so you get notified when we publish our content twice a week, typically on a Tuesday as well as a Thursday. Thank you so much for watching, and let's keep this movement of financial independence a purposeful journey towards financial joy in our lives, and not just a trendy idea that never leads us to true freedom. Take care and bye for now.